You need to know when it snows.
City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Grover.
I'm here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Burris. Here. Alderman Fisk. Here. Alderman Braithwaite. Here. Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Wilson. Here. Alderman Holmes.
Here.
Alderman Tindem. Here. 9-0.
We have a quorum. We are reconvening the City Council meeting after an executive session. First is Mayor's public announcements. Virag Jewelers' 75th anniversary. I have a proclamation in their honor, and I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Whereas for the past 75 years, Virag Jewelers Limited has been providing jewelry and timepiece sales and services to the Evanston community. And whereas Peter Virag, grandfather of the current owners, immigrated to Chicago from Eastern Europe in 1921, where he worked as a second-generation watchmaker in his father's jewelry store. And whereas Mr. Virag worked for 14 years as a bench jeweler in the Jewelers District in Chicago. And whereas, despite the economic downturn of the Great Depression, Mr. Virag opened his own jewelry store in Evanston in 1936, when his former employer could no longer afford full-time employees. And whereas 3 generations of the Virag family have worked in the family business, providing their service to many. And whereas Virag Jewelers has remained in Evanston throughout its 75 years and has become a fixture of Main Street since it relocated there in the 1960s. Now, therefore, I, Elizabeth B. Tisdall, Mayor of the City of Evanston, do hereby proclaim the December 12, 2011 as Virag Jewelers Day in honor of their 75th anniversary. Would you please come up and accept the proclamation?
Take the picture. Want me to take the picture?
Mayor, wait. I will take a picture.
Cameraman's not here. I'll do the job.
Maroon on it.
Thank you, Rodney.
I'll blow it up for you.
Next, we'd like to announce Evanston Day at Northwestern University's men's basketball game is December 17th, and I believe the community has half price.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. We are partnering once again with Northwestern University for a Evanston Day. We have representatives here with us this evening. Mr. Brad Hurlbut, who's the Senior Associate Athletic Director, is here with a special guest, and I'll have the two of them come forward and talk a little bit about the basketball game coming up and the tickets that are available for Evanston residents.
I'm Brad Hurlbut. I want to thank everybody for their time tonight and for letting us come and speak. I'm going to introduce our Associate Head Coach, Tavares Hardy.
Make sure I can move that a little bit. Thank you all for having me. First and foremost, I want to thank Mayor Tisdale for allowing us to come speak here and for promoting Northwestern Basketball Evanston Day. It's a day that we really cherish. I'm a Northwestern alum, former student athlete here. So I've had a chance to see the transformation of Evanston in '98 when I came as a freshman to now here as a coach. And we're just really proud of the city. We talk to all of our guys all the time about the fact that they represent something bigger than themselves. And it's not just Northwestern University, it's the city of Evanston. And that's what we're trying to instill. So we have a great group of guys here Our GPA is at an all-time high. They're graduating. They're doing great things. But we're also winning basketball games, and we're beating teams that we haven't had as much success against in the past. So it's a special time for Northwestern athletics as a whole, but especially for Northwestern basketball, and we need your support. So as was mentioned, on Saturday, Mayor Tisdale is going to come out and be our honorary captain. But if you visit nusports.com and use the promo code PURPLE when you select tickets, there's $15. It's a great way to entertain your family. And Tony, one of our ticket reps, is back there. He'll answer any questions that you guys might have. But again, it's, I've seen this place from a lot of different angles, as a recruit, as a student athlete, as a booster before I was coaching, now as a coach. And we have a chance to do something special here at Northwestern and with our athletic department. And, one of the things that we see when we go around to these other schools, just looking at our league, the state schools, the Champaign in Illinois, the Madison, Wisconsin, and Ann Arbor. And, it's just that sort of extra oomph that you get from your city, and we need that from Evanston, and then it'll trickle out to Chicago. But appreciate you guys for having us, and look forward to seeing you Saturday. Go Cats.
Alderman Grover.
First of all, thank you, Coach, very much. I hope that we help your recruiting efforts, the city of Evanston. And just to clarify, the $15 tickets are available just online. Right, so you should go to nusports.com. You can't purchase the discounted tickets the day of on Saturday, am I right?
Right, exactly.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then I have good news for the City Council. I have arranged for all of you to have a prime rib dinner and a supply of Texas Aggie brand beef jerky from the Texas A&M Rosenthal Meat Science and Technology Center. And I did this by betting with Mayor Berry, who is a lovely lady. I bet on Northwestern, and she, poor woman, bet on Texas A&M. So when we win, we get dinner. No more wearing shirts.
Dinner in Texas?
Nice try, Alderman Rainey. Dinner here. Of course, I offered Hecky's ribs. And Hecky graciously, but he won't need to send them, so it isn't a problem. City Manager, I would like to ask you about the city stickers. If you could please delay the penalty until January 3rd, because there is some confusion on that issue.
And Madam Mayor, members of the council, and I'd like to ask our parking manager, Ricky Voss, to come up and help me out here. But as you know, we have started to sell vehicle stickers a little bit earlier this year, back in October. We've had a very good response from Evanston residents. I think the process has been overall much more smooth than it has been in previous years. But we did ask our residents to purchase their stickers by this coming Friday, December 16th. We felt that before imposing a penalty fee, that it made sense to get to the end of the calendar year, and at the mayor's request, we'll be making sure that people pay the standard $75 between now and the end of the year, so that the penalty would go into effect then on January the 3rd. So, Mr. Voss, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the numbers of stickers sold and how the process is going so far.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, City Manager Bopkowitz, City Clerk Green, Ricky Voss, Parking Manager, City of Evanston. Sticker sales have gone extremely well. They've come faster than we anticipated. I don't have an exact dollar amount. I didn't check before I came upstairs. However, we're going to be well within meeting our fiscal year goal shortly. People have responded positively to the website. They've paid. That has increased on the pavements, and the lines are not what they used to be, as you used to experience in the corridors on the first floor. It's been a steady stream of traffic, but most people have responded well. So the Evanston residents have responded well to the new program. We will continue to assist them through this as being a change in the new fiscal year and do our best to have everything accomplished and tied up and give that privilege off till December 30th.
Thank you. That concludes the mayor's public announcements. City manager, what do you have?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, a couple of items. First, as you know, back in October, we conducted a contest for people to take photographs. I believe it was October 23rd of this past year as part of a day in the life in Evanston photo story. We have selected the winners with this. Erica Storley, our Citizens Engagement Division Manager, working with Adelita Hernandez of the City Manager's Office, and Alderman Mark Tendam, who's been very involved. We now have the group of photos we'd like to share, at least some of them with you, share a little bit about the book that we are just about ready to publish, and then how people can get the copies of that book. Ms. Storley, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, City Manager, and Clerk Green. I am Erica Storley, and we took the pictures on October 22nd, and we got about 165 photos and some great results for the first run at this. As we said earlier, we're going to do this for all 4 seasons. The next one is planned to be in May of 2012 for the spring version of the book. And Alderman Tendam was extraordinarily helpful and did a fantastic job laying out the book for us and displaying the photos with a really professional look and feel. And we're very grateful to him for his efforts in this, and also to all the participants who submitted their photos. Our winners are listed here. They received notification that they had 1 or more photos in the book, and then they will be having a chance to see their photos on the website later this week with the layout of the book and a chance to purchase the book if they so desire.
And Ms. Storley, there's a name that seems awfully familiar on the bottom of the right-hand column. Is that someone we know?
I believe that is City Clerk Green.
Great.
So I'm going to switch over to the web so we can actually look at the couple pages of the layout of the book. Can you full screen it? Thank you.
Click on the thumbnail. No, the gray thing that's looking at us. Yeah, the gray thing. Just to your gray. Down, down, down. To your left, to your left. To your left. Connected to the book. To your left.
Right by the word Evanston.
Up.
Yay!
I'm going to take over. What we were looking for was this.
There you go.
The front picture was taken at the Forest Preserve. Really fantastic photo. And some great lakefront shots and some really, really nice fall colors. And some great shots of kids participating in sporting events and just regular activities on the weekends. And of course, the farmer's market. This man in his scooter is one of my favorites. Got a good shots in the morning, in the evening, and definitely ones all across town. Can't really see this well up close, but it's a Halloween-themed garage door. And there was a Northwestern football game that day. And that completes it. Can you switch back to the PowerPoint?
Thank you.
So I just want to, again, thank everybody for participating, and thank you again to Alderman Tendam for his work. And we're really proud of this book, and we're really excited to do the next version of it. And thank you to everybody who participated.
And Madam Mayor, members of the council, really this is an opportunity to do different kinds of things with citizen engagement. It's not always focused on budget and cuts and things. We really, Alderman Tendem, I think, really challenged us to come up with something new and different and fun that would allow use of photography and involve people in a different kind of way. So this is a first for us. But I want to thank Alderman Tendem for the inspiration to kind of do this and to figure out how we could do it. And I think by the end of 4 seasons, we'll not only have 4 very interesting separate books, but we'll be able to put together one that really is a great representation of the beauty of this community.
Alderman Rainey?
Madam Mayor, I read in the National League of Cities weekly paper or biweekly, whatever it is, frequently about communities doing different things, none of which measure up to what we do here. And I'm just wondering, do we ever tell people outside of our boundaries the things that we do? And this would be exactly the kind of thing we should share. It makes Evanston more livable. It makes it a great city. And I guess we can't get awards for things nobody knows about.
Well, Alderman Rainey, I think you're correct. We should tell everyone about it.
We need awards.
We will send you to accept it. City Manager, can you take care of making sure that we let people know we're doing this?
Absolutely. Certainly, the Evanston Press is here, but we can also work and make sure that Nation Cities Weekly, the publication of the National League of Cities and U.S. Mayor, the publication of the U.S. Conference of Mayors is made available. Illinois Municipal League, we can also, they have a monthly magazine. So absolutely, great idea. Lastly is holiday trash collections. With Christmas just around the corner and New Year's, we have an alternate schedule also dealing with Christmas trees. And Suzette Robinson, no Christmas trees? Okay, well, we'll talk about Christmas trees next time. But we'll talk about the alternate trash schedule this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Alderman, Clerk Green, and City Manager. I'm Suzette Robinson, the Director of Public Works. And would like to remind everybody that December 26th is the recognized holiday for Christmas in Evanston, so we will not be collecting garbage that day. And that week, the trash collections will all slide back one day. The condo garbage and recycling collections will return to their normal schedule on Thursdays. The same for January 2nd. That will be New Year's Day holiday for the city, and we will not be collecting garbage on that day. And once again, our collections will slide back one day that week. And finally, I'd like to remind everybody that January 1st, no more electronics in your garbage. So please make alternate arrangements at Swank. And we just are posting a newsletter with all of that information in terms of where people can take their recycling, and then there's been a couple of other cities that have opened up permanent sites that are nearby as well.
Alderman Nguyen?
Suzette, Mrs. Robinson, can we put that on the website so that...
The holiday? Or?
No, I'm sorry, about where to go with your electronic recycling?
Yes, it's on there already.
Already?
Yes, but
okay.
the new, Swank just put out a new letter, so I just sent that to Eric, and I asked him to put it up there.
No, I saw that, but in terms of where, and does it provide locations of where you can go with your electronics?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just Google searched Alderman Nguyen, Evanston Electronics Recycling, and it takes you right to the page of our website. So if people are interested, they can just do that, and the information is there. Madam Mayor concludes announcements.
Thank you. City Clerk, do you have any communications?
No communications, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next is citizen comment. Each speaker has 3 minutes. First is Padma Rao, and then B.K. Rao and Junad Rizki. Yeah, you're fourth. And drumroll, Leigh Skinner.
Pat Morrow, 2246 Sherman. My comments have been reviewed and approved by my attorney. We oppose this council's vote at Kendall to needlessly sentence over 24 mature trees to death and endanger pedestrians with an alley that dumps traffic onto the narrowest street. At the last meeting, your 8th Ward member interrupted public comment again, despite my having been called to speak and the agenda's stated rule that aldermen do not respond. Why doesn't this council censure said member for repeatedly violating this rule? At the same meeting, your 1st Ward member responded at length to public comment in violation of the same rule. Her statement included false claims that we attacked her family, when the truth is that we pointed out conflicts of interest involving her and other council members that adversely affect taxpayers' interests. Your member further claimed that the city's ethics entity allegedly approved her conduct in the Kendall matter. Isn't it ironic that claims about ethics were made in violation of the agenda's stated rule? Per the city's website, the only qualifications to be on the city's ethics entity are to live or work here and to be chosen by the mayor. None of the members is registered as an attorney per the ARDC's website. No written findings nor application of law to facts is available on the city's website. As noted before, the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion in Nevada Commission on Ethics versus Kerrigan is on point. The High Court condemned Kerrigan's conduct, which was less egregious than that of your 1st Ward member, given that Kerrigan wasn't reported to have made assurances that the taxpayers would be ignored no matter what concerns they raised. Is the city's ethics entity's alleged decision consistent with the Kerrigan opinion? The High Court held that as a council member, Kerrigan was prohibited from advocating for or voting on a casino project when the developer hired Kerrigan's friend and campaign manager as a consultant on the same project. In light of this ruling, how can your 1st Ward member advocate and vote on the Kendall project when the developer hired her son's law firm for the same project? I submit that the alleged opinion of the ethics entity appears to be a sham, and I challenge said entity to come forward with a complete written brief on the issues. My parents taught me right from wrong, and my attorney guides me through principles of law and equity. Whatever rubber stamp or slap on the wrist the city's ethics entity issues is irrelevant to what we all know is right and wrong. It is clearly wrong for this council to break its own rules and attack taxpayers for stating concerns. It is clearly right for this council to protect the trees and pedestrians at Kendall pursuant to the city code. Do what's right. See you all next time.
Thank you.
B.K. Rao, 2246 Sherman Avenue. My comments have been reviewed and approved by my attorney. When Alderman Fisk was known to me as my neighbor Judy Fisk, she told me that the Board of Ethics is a joke. I believed it then and certainly believe it now. What I don't believe is her claim that the board's clearing her of any wrongdoing in the Kendall matter has any value. To begin with, Alderman Fisk refused to listen to the taxpayers' concerns regarding the Kendall plan. According to the Evanston patch, she assured the developer's lawyer that she obtained the votes to push the resolution no matter what the taxpayers comment. There are 3 ethical violations here. First, she got the votes from her colleagues behind the scenes. Second, she showed her bias in favor of the developer. Third, and most important, she showed her disregard for the interests of those that she took an oath to protect. If her actions are not ethical violations, then the bar is lowered for her to the basement level. Then there is another factor. The developer's lawyer sent a letter to the city stating that the developer hired Holland and Knight to sue the city if the city didn't give him what he demanded. Holland and Knight took large sums of taxpayers' money, and given in August, the city was still paying the firm. Instead of taking any action against Holland and Knight for double representing, the city tried to make up excuses. Why? Is it because Alderman Fisk's son works for Holland at night? What else is the reason? The mayor's efforts to silence us and the 8th Ward person's outbursts are indications of something that the city wants to keep secret from the taxpayers. We don't care how much you respect each other's families, and your own families. What we want you to do is to show respect for your oath of office. Attacking us and trying to silence us will not solve the problems. Remember, the valiant always correct their mistakes, and the cowards make matters worse. It is disgraceful to take the cowardly path. All I want from you is to make the developer obey the city code, which requires protection of trees and pedestrians. As always, I shall return.
Good evening. I will speak to the holiday cheer the city is spreading around. With over 13,000 residents in this town below the poverty line, it's time the council and mayor really stop using money and wasting it. Recently, one council member suggested that those that have expired parking meters are criminals and should pay high fees and fines. This thinking, while I believe is ridiculous, is dangerous. In the city's search for revenues, the poor can become victims. I believe excessive reinforcement is dangerous. This council recently increased all fees and fines with little discussion in the consent agenda. Administrative adjudication judges were replaced with others that would collect fees and fines. Not so long ago, a disabled woman came to the council and spoke of the problems she had in administrative adjudication and her issues. Basically, she felt she was a person of limited means and had been treated unfairly. Tonight, the license plate recognition system will most likely be approved. Is the purpose to increase efficiency or to try to collect more revenue? I believe efficiency might be achieved by eliminating one employee, but unless a date is set for that elimination, it will soon be forgotten. Is this council soon to add unpaid parking tickets to water bills, as was suggested by some? Will the license plate recognition increase booting? Some in this council may think that's great, but will the council's decreasing the threshold for booting to a couple tickets? Impounding the cars of those that are low and moderate income in this community puts them at risk of losing their jobs, their homes, and finally their families on the street. This council will spread more holiday cheer by approving a 5% water increase and adding extra tax fees. Has this council taken the time to study the large number of delinquent water bills? It appears to me hundreds of bills are delinquent. How many more people will be added to the holiday after the holidays? I just saw this memo on water bills. This basically tells you about what they call the average amount of a utility bill. I believe these are very low. I believe the city staff is not really reflecting what I would call real bills. I think you should all look at this and take a good look. Remember, we're only halfway on the water and sewage increases that have been proposed. We're at around 15%, I believe, now, but we're headed to 30. So I hope this council will start to discuss these things next year and in this year, too, of course. I think as you sit around during the holidays, you should think about the large number of items you approved this year that some, I believe, have had little value to us for taxpayers, but increase the taxes on, I think, people that can least afford these things in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lee Skinner Anderson. I thought I'd keep it light this time since you guys just finished the budget and you did a good job, so thank you for the forestry and everything. Many months ago, I was sitting at home and I heard a little news brief on Channel 7 News. I think it was Channel 7. And it was, Chicago suburb is going to ban plastic bags. More information at 10. And I shout down the hallway, honey, we got to watch the 10 o'clock news and see which suburb it is so I can tell city council to follow their lead. And I was delighted. I never watched the news. We actually watched the news, and it was Evanston, and I was so happy. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. This is a great town. So I commend all of you for trying to do the plastic bag ban. I'm probably pretty late to the party. I was reading some old issues of the local newspaper, and it talked about how you guys were all disagreeing about the tax and how we're going to do it, and it seems to be bad for the shop owners, and I wanted to just provide a suggestion. I think if you really want to encourage tote bag use or non-plastic bag use, the city of Evanston needs to print like 10,000 tote bags, and you give them to the shop owners to start the program. And I hope I'm not too late to the party that I missed you guys talking about that. But I think the tote bags could be awesome, and I think it could advertise your brand. And the city of Evanston is a brand, and I think that we are leaders in the Midwest, and I think that we're very green and progressive and intellectual. And I think it could be like, you know, the city of Evanston is green, follow our lead, or carry a bag, or, you know, some cute saying. And the other thing to think about is it going to be cotton, or is it going to be polyester, or is it going to be a mixture? My little Marshall Fields tote bag, which has got to be at least 15 years old, still is holding up and looks nice, so I would vote cotton. But so that was my little suggestion, is you got to print some tote bags and give them away. The other thing is I got married in May, and my husband owns a house and so do I, so we like to go back and forth. And it's interesting to see how another town does things. And one of the things that they do in their little Park District booklet, I get one in Evanston, they get one in their town. They have a section on facility rentals. And I have never noticed one in our booklet, and I think that'd be something good to add, and it could be a revenue maker for you guys. And it's got, you can rent a room at the community center, and there's outdoor rentals, and there's a couple other Park District type things. And it made me think about what Evanston's community facility rentals could be, and the parasol room upstairs really should be, I think, advertised for certain rentals. And it also made me think that people should be getting married in the Civic Center. They could walk down the aisle in the council chambers. They could have a small reception in the parasol room. And if you put a little gazebo in the backyard of the Civic Center, you could have pictures out and back, and then people could have pictures out in front. It's a historical landmark. People like getting married in historical landmarks. And as someone that just got married, I got married in Las Vegas because I didn't want to have to worry about all this stuff. And you know what? I would have gotten married here if that was like a package that I could buy for $5,000 and it's all done. There's, you know, you've got like, whatever, all the little, you know, the package deal, you know, package A, B, or C, I probably would have done it. The mayor has to officiate. And the other thing is, I think you could get people to volunteer for the position. There are so many retired people, like my mother, who would kill to like plan somebody's wedding. They could work like 2 Saturdays a month. These people would do it for free. So I think you're missing a big opportunity on making the Civic Center be like a wedding destination. And I think if you live in Evanston, whatever price A, and if you don't live in Evanston, if you're not an Evanston resident, it's 3 times higher. I also remember talks about back when you guys were thinking about moving out of the Civic Center, I was a big proponent in you guys staying, and I remember talks about codes. And this building was built before there were city codes. And I know there's certain aspects about this building that might not be up to code, and I would just encourage you, the building was built before there's codes. Don't worry about it. You're grandfathered in. Rent the parasol room out.
Thank you, Leigh. Right. I hate to tell you, but I do need you to wind up.
All right. Anyway, that's my light comment for tonight.
Thank you very much. That concludes citizen. Oh, no, it doesn't. Sorry. Mike Vasilko.
Madam Mayor, before Mr. Vasilko steps up, Alderman Nguyen, I think, raised a good point. While the building is old, we try to take care of it in a good way. As far as we know, all codes are being met. It's a safe place for people to come to work every day. It's a safe place for people to come to meetings,
and get married.
And if anyone would like, call me 847-866-2936. We'll set you up.
And if marriages don't work, you could try divorces. So that may work. Mike Vasilko, 2728 Reese Avenue, Evanston. Evanston needs a formal and specific economic development master plan. The city's economic development team has been in desperation mode for this past year, doing what they can to encourage existing businesses and some new businesses to come to or stay in Evanston. This relates, I believe, to Mr. Griffin's 80% rule, meaning that 80% of the city's economic development will come from existing local businesses. I appreciate maintaining the existing businesses that form our base, but I'm equally convinced that the 80% rule for Evanston, as Evanston is today, will not produce the type of revenue that Evanston needs to end ever-increasing property tax increases and other city fees. Schaumburg recently lowered their property tax rate by 6%. Schaumburg, of course, only started levying property taxes a few years ago. Schaumburg had and implemented a specific economic development plan, which included retail, convention activities, hotels, and restaurants. Skokie, for the 19th year in a row, has kept its property tax frozen with no increases. Skokie had and implemented a specific economic development plan, which included constructing a large and ever-expanding shopping center and stealing Evanston's retail base, of course, over 20 years ago. But Skokie did succeed. Des Plaines had a small retail core, but focused their economic development effort on securing one of Illinois' most recent casinos. That was their big idea plan for Des Plaines. They implemented their plan and find the revenue gained has exceeded original expectations. Tinley Park is implementing a specific plan to market their downtown. Chicago is embarking on a multi-million-dollar tourism campaign targeting Midwestern visitors. And the list kind of goes on for other communities. I try to be aware of the goings-on in Evanston, yet I am not aware of a specific economic development plan that will allow the city to refrain from raising property taxes and fees, or to freeze property taxes, or even to consider reducing property taxes as Schaumburg did. Evanston needs a big idea economic development plan that will achieve these goals. That being said, there are some specific individual efforts for real economic development which I am certain will succeed. One such effort is Alderman Rainey's vision for Howard Street. The economic development goal is specific and begins with implementing development of a small theater, a restaurant, and a wine and cheese bar. These three simple facilities fuel each other's success and will generate the economic, an environment for new businesses to want to be there. This is an example of a real economic development plan. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comment. And before Alderman Rainey has the consent agenda, Clerk Green, did you want to say something?
If you noticed in the packet online, there was a big gap in the minutes for the 28th of November. That was the first draft that got put up inadvertently. The new minutes have been corrected with all the gaps filled in, and I just want to let you know that that was there. And if you can trust me for filling it in and then approving with the amendments that put in, I will sure appreciate it.
Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Would you prefer that we held our approval of the minutes until we could read it with the amendments? So it would move it to January.
Yes.
Is that all right?
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
Which minutes are they?
November 28th.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey, could we have the consent agenda?
Well, I trust Rodney with or without gaps, but I will remove the 28th minutes from the agenda. If you will hold on, my microphone doesn't seem to be cooperating here. Okay, I'm fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the consent agenda with November 28 minutes removed. We ask your approval of the minutes of the special city council meeting of November 29. Under Administration and Public Works Committee, we ask your approval for the payroll through November 20, $2,653,239.28. The City of Evanston bills through December 13, $1,908,511.38. This period, we had credit card activity through October 31st in the amount of $98,772.42. Under purchases, we ask your approval for purchases of 2 license plate recognition systems from Avio RMS Group, LLC, in the amount of $118,963. Item 3.2 is approval of another purchase of field arrest and field interview software from SunGuard Public Sector in the amount of $54,920 for the Evanston Police Department. We ask your approval also for Duncan Solutions, Inc. to add a 25% collection fee to the delinquent collection process. We ask approval also for Resolution 63R11, which authorizes the city manager to execute an easement agreement with Commonwealth Edison for installation of an above-ground electric switch box and related underground connections at Fireman's Park. Resolution 78R11 is a resolution that authorizes the manager to enter into agreements for the second year of a 3-year lease term for spaces at the Noyes Cultural Arts Center that include no rent increases. Next, our staff recommends adoption of the following 10 abatement resolutions by the City Council. The resolutions will abate or decrease the amount of the 2011 property tax levy needed to retire the outstanding obligation debt. The details of this, Madam Mayor and members of the council and the community, are in the city packet, which is online. First, the committee asks your approval of proposed resolution 69R11, abatement for GO Bond Series 2002 C, resolution 70R11, GO Bond General Obligation Bond Series 2004. We ask your approval also of Resolution 71R11, abatement for General Obligation Bond Series 2005. Moving on, Resolution 72R11 abates General Obligation Bond Series 2006. 73R11 is an abatement for General Obligation Bonds 2007. Resolution 74R11 is an abatement for General Obligation Bond Series 2008B. Resolution 75R11, abatement for General Obligation Bond Series 2008C. Resolution 76R11 abates General Obligation Bond Series 2008D. Resolution 77R11, abatement for General Obligation Bonds 2010B. And finally, Resolution 68R11 is an abatement for General Obligation Bond Series 2011A. That concludes the obligation bond abatements. Next is Resolution 79R11. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 79R11.
Can we take that off the consent?
Yes, I will. Next is Resolution 79, wait, I missed it. All right, next is Resolution 80R11, having to do with the Howard Hartree Tax Increment District. That is off the agenda, consent agenda, and will be addressed by the committee chair. Ordinance 104-011 authorizes the sale of surplus fleet vehicles owned by the city through public auction. This is for introduction. Ordinance 113-011 amends portion of Title 10, Chapter 11, traffic schedules relating to speed limits on Oakton Street. This is for introduction, is that correct, Alderman Burris?
We held in committee.
Oh, held in committee. Okay, so this is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Sorry about that. Next, staff recommends approval of Ordinance 114-011, amending Title 10, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 11, parking meter zones. These changes will impact all meter zones, including 20-minute, 30, 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour, 12-hour, and 15-hour zones. It is recommended that the amendment take effect February 1, 2012. Next, we ask your approval of Ordinance 115-011, which amends Title 10, Motor Vehicle and Traffic, Chapter 11, Traffic Schedules, Section 17, Schedule 17, Parking Violation Fines. It is recommended that the changes in the initial fines take effect on April 1, 2012. Would you correct your information? It's a typo that says 2011. That's for introduction. Next is Ordinance 117-011, which would increase City of Evanston police and fire-related false alarm fees. This increase was included as a revenue enhancement item in the February 2012 budget and will take effect. Another typo should read February 1, 2012. This is also for introduction. Next is approval to, A15-1, A15-2, A15-3, and A15-4 are off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Next, Ordinance A16, 108-011, City Waterworks System. City Administration and Public Works recommends City Council adoption of Ordinance 108-011, which amends the City Code effective January 1, 2012. Both the minimum use meter charge and quantity charge will be raised by 5%. This ordinance was introduced at our last council meeting. Next is Ordinance 109-011, which amends Title 8, Chapter 5, Section 12, imposition of sanitation service charges to increase the sanitation service charge. This is for action tonight. Next, Ordinance 111-011, requiring the recycling of electronic products. Staff recommends City Council adoption of this ordinance, which enacts subsections F and G to Title 8, Chapter 5, Section 3, general disposal requirements to require recycling of electronic products as specified in the Electronics Products Recycling and Reuse Act as amended. This ordinance was introduced at the November 28th meeting. Next, under Planning and Development, the committee requests your approval of Ordinance 91-011 regarding the expiration of building permits. The major change is the addition of a time limit for all permits, regardless of work status. Under Human Services, the Human Services Committee recommends your approval of the Township of Evanston expenditures for the month of November totaling $85,062.47. This does not include payment of an invoice of $2,172.61 for attorney fees to the law firm of Gregory Polini. The Township of Evanston audit for the fiscal year ending March 31, 2011. The supervisor requests your acceptance and to place the township audit, I guess, in the files. Next, under appointments. For appointment to the library board, is it Leora Siegel. For the Plan Commission, James W. Ford. For reappointment to the Arts Council, Heidi Bloom, Helen Axelrod, and Charles Lang. The Emergency Telephone System Citizen Board, David Blatt. Lad Arboretum Committee, Virginia Beatty, and Tracy Hubbard. And with that, Madam Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Seeing no lights, hearing no discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Grover?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Burris? Aye. Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite? Aye. Alderman Nguyen? Aye. Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Holmes?
Aye.
Alderman Tindem?
Aye.
9-0. The consent agenda passes. Alderman Burris, could we have A&PW, please?
Yes. The committee asks your approval of Resolution 79R-11. expressing official intent regarding expenditures from the funds of the City of Evanston, Cook County, Illinois, to be reimbursed from proceeds of obligations to be issued by the City of Evanston, Cook County, Illinois. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 79-R11, by which City Council would authorize that payments relating to fiscal year 2012 capital improvement plan project expenditures up to $13,828,000 be reimbursed by the subsequent 2012 general obligation bond issuance.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Alderman Wilson.
First, I guess a question or two. From the previously approved capital budget, are we taking out the water main replacement from Custer to Chicago? Is that?
Madam Mayor, Alderman Wilson, Mr. Lyons will respond for staff. Thanks.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, Clerk Green, City Manager Bobkowitz, Marty Lyons, Interim Administrative Services Director. Yes, the intent would be to replace that project with the projects listed, the $900,000 in the reimbursement resolution.
Okay, and the $900,000 are for the rehab of the 3 Howard Street properties, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that those are projects that haven't yet been approved, but we're essentially trying to allocate the funds in the event that they are approved. Is that the intention?
Yes. In a lot of ways, just preparing, as we would with budgets, to prepare for each project as they come forward, whether it was one of these projects or any one of our capital projects, that we had those items set up in advance, so when the project came forward for approval, it was done. It was ready to go.
And right, and there's nothing else that's been taken out of the previously approved budget, right? The only item is the water main replacement.
Right, the water main replacement, if I just call your attention to the yellow highlighted areas, the water main replacement, we had anticipated in the capital improvements plan that only $4.8 million of approximately $6.2 million in total water projects were going to be funded through debt. The rest would come from the water fund reserves, and that is for new water fund projects. If you look at the worksheet that was handed out this evening, we have 2 columns, one that is new projects and others that are carryover projects, so those would also come from water fund reserves.
And what is the timing on the issuance of the debt? In other words, if some or a portion of the $900,000 is or isn't approved, would the debt be issued automatically, or would we be able to not issue that portion of the debt?
The timing of the debt is we would like to get a little bit further into construction season. What we have seen as far as the actual expenditure of 2011 projects, we still have a lot of carryover from 2011. So just as we do each year, we will wait until the most opportune time to issue our debt. And in the past, we haven't been as proactive with a regular reimbursement resolution. This should be something we do every January or every December. Once we highlight our capital improvements plan, any projects that we think will be paid for through debt, we can pass the reimbursement resolution so that whenever is the most opportune time for the project to start, we don't lock ourselves in with issuing debt during a time where interest rates aren't at their best, or issuing debt more than once, since we always have about $20,000 to $50,000 in fixed costs when you issue debt.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Rainey.
Well, I know that some of you have not been around a really long time, and there's some confusion about how TIF money is spent. Alderman Wilson, this money can be spent on nothing other than economic development and development on Howard Street between Ridge and the CTA tracks. So I'm not sure what you mean by these aren't projects that have been approved. We have purchased these 3 buildings. One building is going to be a performing arts theater. The roof has to be raised. We have had at least, I would say, $40,000 in donated time by Bully Andrews, Mike Vasilko, other architects and engineers in the city of Evanston developing this plan. We have not spent one penny on engineering design as of this time. We have people all ready to go. People cannot, new businesses cannot move into these places until we develop them. This is otherwise known as economic development and planning. And so these projects, at least by me, are definitely planned. You might not approve of them, but they are planned. And I'm wondering if we should go over each one of these projects that are listed here to see if each one of them has come before us and been approved and planned. Because I don't think most of these projects in here are from a designated TIF fund, and so that would be of concern of mine, why these three things are being singled out. These are probably the most significant economic development projects on these three sheets of paper, and they are probably on one of the most desperately in need of economic development streets in the city. I know you have a thing about them, but it would really be great if you had any idea of the time and effort people have put into this, and to be demeaned by saying these projects aren't real or they haven't been approved. This is money that is from the TIF that is designated for these three buildings, and I hope you will see a way to support them. Because if you ever had a project in your ward with a TIF, I guarantee you, if you supported it, so would I.
Alderman Braithwaite? Alderman Wilson?
Well, my recollection is certainly the council approved the purchase of the properties, but I don't recall the council approving the additional $900,000 in expenditures to rehab the properties.
It's a budget. We're approving a budget. That's what we're asking for, to approve the budget.
And to that point, those three items, as near as I can recall, were not in the previously approved capital budget. So those are new items, and I don't want anybody to perceive us as slipping new items into, almost $1 million of new items into the capital budget that weren't there before. I don't recall us voting on and approving expending the $900,000. If I'm mistaken, maybe somebody can draw my attention to that.
Being asked to do that now.
We didn't do that, right? So my understanding is that this, from Mr. Lyons' report, is that this is for planning purposes, and this is not the approval of that work.
Alderman Rainey?
Yeah. Well, I think it would be helpful for me then, if we're gonna single this out, that we go down the list, and if we could be given when all of these other items have been approved by the council, then that will make me feel a little better that this isn't being targeted because it's on Howard Street or because it's in my ward. I don't want the people in my ward to be punished because it's something that I'm recommending, or that all the people who've been working on it in my ward and the business district in my ward, I want to take me out of the equation. So I'd like to know about all these other items so that we can go down the list and see. Or if somebody from our staff could at least defend the $900,000. I mean, I've been working with staff for a month on this.
Well, this is a change in the approved budget. Is that not correct?
No, this is the budget.
Alderman Grover?
I understood that agenda item A8 was simply giving city staff the ability to move the money around if the projects actually happen. It's really more of an accounting or finance decision. It's not approval of specific projects. And as for the new projects, I mean, for the ones on Howard Street, we haven't seen any specific plans or detail about them or specific proposal to actually approve those projects. But the agenda item tonight is really about how the money moves to make these projects, if approved, happen. Am I right?
City Manager?
Let me try to put all this in a little bit of context. The council annually approves a capital budget, which you did a few weeks ago. That capital budget and your discussions on that capital budget historically have been focused on those projects funded by general obligation bonds. Those projects funded through tax income and finance districts have been handled a little bit differently, where there have been committees, either through the Economic Development Committee, groups of interested residents working on those projects, and those projects have been developed separately. I think that the $900,000 we're talking about today clearly falls into that other category. The big difference here is the intensity and activity in the Howard Ridge TIF has been something that has not been there over the past several years, but certainly over the last year has been very much involved. Alderman Rainey has put together a group of projects working with interested residents that come out to that $900,000 range. Has it been part of the capital improvement budget prior to this? No. But again, things do evolve, and now is a time for that she felt it was important for these projects to move forward. From a staff's perspective, we felt it was important at this point to come to the council and say, here is projects, here is a way to finance them. Ultimately, like any other capital project before it's awarded, it would come back to you with specific construction contracts. So I think the council has a past practice of looking at TIF projects a little bit differently than general obligation bonds. I think the work that's been done with the Howard Ridge TIF is consistent with that past work. But tonight is the night that now this is coming forward. If the council is approving of that, then well, this is the next step in that process. It's not the final step. If the council has questions as occurring, I think it's appropriate to have those questions. So this is just a natural part. Again, the emphasis of staff, the emphasis of Alderman Rainey on these projects has been very intense over the last 6, 9, 12 months. We're now at a point, I think, that it makes sense to put funding aside for that. So I think the work that's been done is very consistent with how TIF projects have been identified and brought before the council in the past.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson? Alderman Rainey?
What are the details regarding the $325,000 and $350,000 in the budget for the greenhouse? I know there's something about a grant. Did we get that grant?
If I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Alderman Rainey, as we had talked, I think, briefly during the budget deliberations, when we presented the capital budget to you, which probably was at the very end of October, the 1st of November, we had not heard back. We had said at that time that money was being put aside as a match for a grant. About, I think, 2 weeks ago, we heard from the state of Illinois that money is not available through a grant. Therefore, we will need to come back to the council after the first of the year for disposition of those funds. Staff is looking at the needs of the existing greenhouse and is putting together a proposal to come back to you with a plan to use that budgeted money, but it would take council action to make that allocation.
Thank you. Seeing Alderman Nguyen.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I may have missed this in Mr. Lyons' explanation, but are we deciding that we are not going to do the water main replacement on Howard Street, or are we finding the funding through a different fund?
Alderman Nguyen, members of council, no, it's just the funding source, as you pointed out. So $4.8 million of the new projects in the water fund are coming from a new bond issue and therefore would be a part of the reimbursement resolution, and approximately $1.3 to $1.4 million are coming from reserves. In short, the $3.1 million for water main is all being proposed to be constructed next year. Only part of it will be covered under a reimbursement resolution because only part of it will be covered under bonds that have yet to be issued.
All right, but previously was the Howard Street water main replacement, that was to be covered by
Yes,
the
I'm
Howard
sorry,
Street
I thought you were referring to the whole water main project.
No, I'm just talking about Howard Street. Well, that's helpful anyway.
So the short answer is no, we would not be doing that water main project on Howard.
We're not doing it at all?
Not in 2012, no.
Do we have plans for it in the out years?
I would defer to the Utilities Director, and also as we continue to look at long-range planning with Howard, especially as it relates to two things: how much increment is developed in Howard Ridge, and the situation of the water fund itself. The city has had judicious use of TIF money for infrastructure. However, this last year, because we weren't spending a lot of TIF money on development projects, no development was going on, we made a concerted effort to identify infrastructure projects that could be done if we wish to use TIF money. In this case, a development project overtook the water main project as a higher and better use for the TIF funds.
All right, I understand that. I guess my only concern would be, is this water main project, is this a water main that is in serious need of replacement? Are we putting ourselves at risk?
And Alderman Nguyen, members of the council, in Mr. Stonebeck's absence, I was familiar with the discussions that were had a few months ago about this. There's a collection of water mains citywide that need our attention. We don't believe that this particular main is any better or any worse than others in a group. So it was the feeling of Mr. Stonebeck that if, at least for 2012, that this project did not need to move forward, and there would not be significant impacts for it now moving forward.
Alderman Rainey.
Well, first of all, if anyone would think that I would ask to have a water main replacement removed from the budget that was in my ward that was desperately needed, you obviously don't know me, because I would fight to have it done. I checked very carefully with Mr. Stonebeck. He assured me that this could wait several years, if not longer. However, the reason, because we have these projects on Howard Street going forward, there are going to be two businesses opening right where that water main construction would go past. And I figured that if you have long-standing, fully developed businesses, for example, on Main Street, on Chicago Avenue, that are complaining about construction on Main Street at one time when we did a water main, sewer main, they complain their business deteriorates when there's water main work going on. So I was assured that this project would go on for several months, and that would put an end and a severe cramp in any new business that opens on Howard Street right in front of the water main work. So it was a matter of being sensitive to the two new businesses that we expect to open on Howard Street at the same time the water main was going in that could wait a couple of years. So that is why the water main was set aside. That's the whole story. It isn't so we would have more money for economic development, God forbid. It was because it would deter from businesses being whole in the first few months of their opening. You're welcome.
All right, seeing no further lights, it's been moved and seconded that we pass Resolution 79R11 expressing official intent regarding expenditures from the funds of the City of Evanston, Cook County, Illinois, to be reimbursed from proceeds of obligations to be issued by the City of Evanston, Cook County, Illinois. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Grover.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes. Aye. Alderman Tandem. Aye. 9-0.
9-0, the motion passes. Alderman Burris.
Resolution 80-R-11, deeming certain funds in the Special Tax Allocation Fund for the Howard Hartree Tax Increment Redevelopment Project Area as surplus funds and directing the payment and distribution thereof by the City of Evanston, Cook County, Illinois. The committee has asked to hold it in committee to a date certain. What we've asked in the committee is that the city manager discuss with the school districts the possibility of using, if we were going to retire the TIF, to use some of that surplus funds for crossing guards, as well as traffic calming along Oakton and possibly repaving on Oakton because there are three schools along Oakton. So we're asking to hold that in committee.
Thank you. Right, it will be held then.
I'm still here. A11, Ordinance 113-0-11, amending portions of Title 10, Chapter 10, traffic schedules relating to speed limits on Oakton Street. That has also been held in committee. Then A15.1 and A15.2 have been held. A15.3, A15.4 have all been held. And that to the next meeting. That the first meeting in January, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Burris. Alderman, there's no report for Alderman Holmes, is that correct? Thank you very much. And Alderman Fisk, you have no report.
That's correct.
All right. Call of the wards, starting with Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Evanston Day at Welsh Shrine Arena on Saturday. I've already got my tickets.
They're not very good seats.
I want to wish everyone a really happy, joyous holiday season. This will be the last time we gather as a council for 4 weeks now. So really enjoy your holidays together with your families. Keep them close. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank everybody who's been helping with all the Howard Street projects. And, you know, while it might seem to the television viewing audience that aldermen didn't know anything about this, I have met with every single alderman and the mayor on this council to show them and explain to them the work that we're doing on Howard Street. Tonight probably was, I was a lot more excited than I am now, but most exciting thing that has happened for Howard Street. Buying the 3 properties was an important move. But since we've bought those properties, and I might have told you this before, but I'm going to tell you again. Since we bought those properties, a property adjacent to one of the properties that we bought has been put up for sale and is being brokered by one of the most respected brokers in the city of Evanston. Another property that is probably one of the worst properties in the Howard Street vicinities, now that we've bought 3 of the worst, is up for sale, and there's actually an offer to purchase to demolish and build a brand new building. So our work has had an effect on the rest of the street. And I'm very proud of it, but most of all, I am so grateful for our staff who has worked so hard on this, for people in the community who have given their time during the day when they could otherwise be billing people. Bully Andrews, who we have entrusted to do our garages, the roof of the Civic Center, and other things, has donated their time. And we have a project plan all in place for the theater. We have a meeting and an offer to purchase from an active theater group. We're meeting with them on Thursday. We have another proposal for a wine bar where the operator of that wishes to purchase the building. So as somebody joked, we're in the business of flipping buildings on Howard, which God only knows that would be a wonderful thing. But so work is being done, and I appreciate the serious support of people on this council for this. It's going to make a big difference. It'll make a difference not only for the community that is in the south end of town, but for the entire city. And I want to tell you that I've been trying to do this for years, and this city manager really made it happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Burris.
Wait, and Marty Lyons has been great, too.
We done now?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say thank you to several people on Oakton Street who went out and got petitions to let the city council know about the problems on Oakton regarding the trucks and the speeding on Oakton. So I want to thank them. And also I want to thank the AP&W committee for coming up with good ideas on how to help the people on Oakton, and the good discussion tonight. That was I was really pleased with some of the ideas, and hopefully we can find a resolution to give some of these people some relief from these trucks and cracks in their walls and in their windows. And then finally, happy holidays to everyone, and if you're traveling, please be safe.
Thank you. Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank the city manager and staff who attended the recent ward meeting, and appreciate your help as always, and stepping up to the microphone with all the answers is really very, very helpful to me. I want to remind everyone who's interested in the bed and breakfast potential revisions to the zoning ordinance. There's a meeting of the zoning subcommittee of the Plan Commission tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here in the Civic Center. And then on Thursday, the 15th, isn't it Thursday? It's been changed to Thursday. The Northwestern City Committee is also meeting here, and that's a change from its previous schedule on Wednesday. And finally, happy holidays to all, and look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank everyone here on the staff and my fellow council members, the mayor and the city manager, for another very, very productive year of being on the city council. I look forward to 2012 and more productivity from all of us. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, and have a very safe and restful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
I will adopt Alderman Nguyen's eloquent comments, and with no further report.
Thank you. Alderman Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to invite all of you all this coming Thursday to the regular Fifth Ward annual holiday party. Just bring a dish to serve 4 to 6 people. Come and have some food with us and enjoy a really good evening. We'll be meeting at Fleetwood, as always, at 7 p.m. I also want to just say that our co-chair of West and part of our newsletter committee, Janet Alexander Davis, had successful back surgery. And we're just real pleased, and we just want to give a shout out to her and tell her to hurry up and get well, because I don't do well with the newsletter. So, but we'll get the copy out for this Thursday. And I wish everybody a happy holidays.
Thank you. Alderman Tandem.
I, too, will echo the holiday wishes from down the aisle, and happy holidays to everyone. And on this council, and for all of your support over the past year, it's been wonderful working with you.
Thank you. Alderman Grover.
Thank you. As usual, I forgot one thing. This is my formal request to schedule and convene meetings on the 2 important referenda questions that we've approved for the March 20th primary. I think they are mandated on the question of electric municipal aggregation. If we're going to go down that way, we need, I think, at least 2 community meetings, and I want to do at least that many meetings on the question of the township. So that's simply a formal request to get those scheduled and on the books, please.
Thank you. That concludes call of the wards. Alderman Wilson, do you have a motion?
I do. Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes, ILCS 120/2A, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel, collective bargaining, litigation, and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, C2, C11, and C21.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Meeting ended at 9:17. Rodney, when was the last time the regular meeting ended at 9:15?